I'm Bradley Stillwash, and today the improv tip of the month is called Swing Harder, how to bring a more authentic feel to your swing playing. So we've got that bass line going, and I've got a little bit of cymbal hooked on that bass. And so let's add some foot percussion to get the sound of swing in our head. I've got a bass drum under my right foot. And now let's go ahead and add a hi-hat under my left foot, just to get the sound of the swing feel, which we're going to talk about today. So here we go, add the hi-hat. And now let's listen to some right hand swing eighths, which we'll break down how to make more authentic in a minute. Right hand solo. So we're just listening to swing a little bit. Listen to that right hand. Ever notice how when traditionally trained musicians play swing feel music, it sounds like something's off. It's like it's correct, but it's not hot. It's not toe tapping. And it's often due to an incomplete understanding of the swing feel. And that is more than a rhythm. That's the sort of the lesson today. And I'm going to break that down in 3 sections and get you out of here within 30 minutes. And first we're going to talk a little bit about what is swing, what does that mean, and then we're going to talk about how to swing the eighths specifically, and then I'm going to leave you with some advanced tips to really bring some more authenticity to your swing playing. So first of all, when we're talking about swing, I just find that's a word that has a lot of meanings, and people can get thrown off a little bit by that. So first of all, to the average listener, just a person who may appreciate jazz, swing is a style. It's, my mom and dad were in the World War II era, and they actually met in a big band. My dad played trumpet, which is hanging right over there on the wall, his trumpet, and my mom was a singer. And they, this was not their profession, but they did that quite a bit on the side. And and that was their favorite tune, Glenn Miller's "In the Mood," which is a quintessential swing era jazz tune, right? And it has those swing eighths. So swing just means kind of a genre, and also an era, the swing era. The golden age of when jazz music actually was America's popular music. Now, the second meaning is that musicians use it to complement each other when the groove is really deep and the feel is really strong, and it's just so much fun to play, and you feel like you're riding on the rhythm, and it's just waves and waves of rhythm, and after that happens, you might look to the drummer or the bassist and say, "Man, were you ever swinging?" Now, the thing is that could be a compliment on a funk tune or a rock tune. It means in a jazz lexicon that you are just really locking up with the other musicians and enjoying the wonderful what is it, entrainment or entropy or something like that when musicians begin to feel the beat and work as one unit. So that's really swinging. But for our purposes today, we're thinking about swing with its third meaning, which is in reference to eighth notes, how eighth notes feel. Doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba. So I just want to, first of all, leave you, or make sure I bring this up. I don't know if I made this up or not. I might have heard it somewhere, but I just love this. when you're thinking about styles, there's this silly little kind of looks more official than it is, but it's a formula. I'm trying to get rid of the glare there. Groove equals pulse divided by subdivision. What the heck does that mean? Well, that means the groove results from the way the beat is felt on its general pulse. So here, for example, is a bass drum. That's my pulse. Now, how are we going to divide that pulse up, right? If we divide it up evenly and stylistically in eighth notes that are square, and we'll go ahead and play a style to emphasize that, right? So we are dividing it all evenly. If we divide it with a dotted eighth sixteenth at the subdivision, it might be like maybe like an Irish hornpipe. Which is a little bit off, but it's not quite a swing eighth, right? And that's another way to look at it. If we think about a lot of 16th notes, then we have kind of a funk sound. So there's lots of styles, lots of ways to divide up those subdivisions. And what we're interested in is when it's divided up in that swing eighth feel. So let's just look at the rhythm of that first, and then we will look at how we might refine that. So what I would like you to do is, if you're at an instrument, we're just going to play a simple 5-finger pattern that is right up and down C to G, and I'd like you to do that just straight eighths. So those notes are C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C, and let's do that a little bit slower. And now I'll do it with a pulse. Okay? All right? C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, C. Now, we're going to use that as a basis and turn those into swing eighths. And so, if we were to look at how that is written, we might just think of it this way. Right up and down, minus the last note. C, D, E, F, G, F, E, D, and then an implied C there on the end. And notice that these eighth notes are written in a straight way. There's nothing here to tell me that it's a swing feel. So we're going to turn this into a swing feel. And I hope you can do this right at home. What we're going to do is we're going to take each of those notes, and the first of each pair we're going to double and turn this whole thing into a triplet. So this might look like this. Do-da-do-dee-da-do-dee-da-do-dee-da-do-dee. C, C, D, E, E, F, G, G, F, E, E, D, C. So we're going to just morph this into triplets for the moment. And I'll play it. Keep it nice and slow so there's room for all those triplets. So in a way, what we're playing right now, going back to the groove equals pulse divided by subdivision, we're playing 12/8. You want to think of it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. New measure. So we are feeling that triplet now instead of squared eighths. Now, what we're going to do rhythmically, and most people are already there, but we want to get the basics covered here. We're going to take the first of each of those triplets, and we're going to tie them. So we're going to continue to feel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but we're going to tie those notes. And so the second note is not going to be heard in our mind's eye, but we're not going to be seen, but we're going to continue to feel it. So I'm thinking triplets, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's do that with a pulse. Ready, in. All right, so far we have the right rhythm. We have what often happens when a classically trained musician plays written jazz, and they get that rhythm, and it sounds okay, but it doesn't pop. And so let's take a minute and think about the how it's notated as well, because it's a big area of confusion. If you look at older jazz, and right now I'm teaching a course called Stride Out, where we're playing stride piano styles from the 1920s, and we look at the historic music, it often shows this dotted eighth 16th as the publisher's early attempt to capture that triplet sound. And so as you look at written music for jazz, you will find a lot of confusion about sometimes it's written this way, and sometimes it's written this way, just as normal eighth notes. But there's either the word swing or that stylistic indication, which reminds us that while they are written in a straight feel, they're intended to play in a triplet feel like we just did. You might see this little formula at the top where two written eighth notes are actually played as a do, ba, do, ba, do. Okay? So the notation can be confusing. If just ask yourself, what genre am I playing? Is this intended to be with a swing feel? And just know that publishers have a hard time capturing it, as well they should, because the triplet feel is a little too even, a little too perfect to be authentic. So it may be written straight, but it's not necessarily played straight. So once again, let's go ahead and put underneath there if you want. I'll play C, E, F, G. E, F, G. I'm just playing C, E, F, G, and I go. And then I'll repeat that. Okay, so we have some basis to put that over. So, if you're just joining us, I'm Bradley Sowash, and today we're talking about how to swing harder when we play written or improvised jazz, if we have traditional training. And we've talked so far about how swing eighths are written and how to feel their underlying triplet feeling. Now we're going to think about how to give them a little more oomph. And for this, I'm using... for those of you who probably know, I wrote the best-selling jazz piano method in the world. That's seems like bragging, but I guess it's very popular because it's simple with little digestible steps that even a kid can do. Mine is a bruised and battered copy, and I just want to draw your attention to, if you have this, a lot of what I'm talking about today is laid out on page 9 of the first book called Getting Into It. So we're laying that out, and it's a warm-up for a tune called Swing Out, which I'll do some variations on. If you happen to have the book 2 of the series, it is on the same explanation, because it's so important, is included on page somewhere. I forget where it is. Yeah, right there on pretty much page 2. It's 5 actually, because of all the introductory material. So if you want to kind of review this, you may already have this on your bookshelf. So we're going to just kind of change that feel by changing up the notes a little bit, and we're going to give that a baseline and everything. But before we do it, I want to explain to you that it is not just that triplet feel. It has to do with the way the music is slurred. So if we feel that this is swing eighths, and we're feeling do ba do ba do ba do ba do. Because of our training, and if I ask you to slur that, try it now. You're going to play it in sets of 4. Because we're used to that even, slurring or phrasing. Or you're going to play it in sets of 2. Just to make it obvious, and I'm kind of overplaying it there. So you might find that you're comfortable doing that. That just feels natural, right? Or you might find that you're comfortable slurring it in little pairs. Do I do I do I do I do. Okay. So because slurring on a piano is kind of obscure, since in the end we're a percussion instrument, I'm going to just demonstrate on flute for a second how a traditional slurring of that little pattern might sound. Whoops, something like this. Whoops, I did step 2. Here's how we might flirt. Do I do I do I do I do, right? You can hear it more with the breath. So to give your swing, this is a big power tip, more of a oomph, you're actually going to swing, you're going to slur on the ands. You're going to slur the ands. So do ba 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 da. It's like the first note you just toss out, you just throw it away. Do 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 do. And then slur the ones in between. So let's hear that again on flute, because you can really hear the slurs on this instrument. There, I'm just going to throw that note out and then start the slurs on the second beat, second note. Do, 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 do. Now try that on piano. It's going to feel really backwards to you with your traditional training. Okay? Now, the trick to that, just technically, is you're actually going to do your hand drop on the notes D and F. I'm hugely exaggerating. Okay, so do 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 already. We already have a lot more authenticity going on. Now, the last sort of the last intermediate tip, and I'm going to get to some power tips here in a minute, is to articulate those notes differently. The word that works for me is do, ba, do, where ba is bigger. So I'm going to think do, and I can actually say this out loud as I practice it. Do, ba, do, ba, do, ba, do, ba, do. So all the emphasis is on the and beats rather than the heavy beats. Exactly opposite of what we were taught in our general music classes, right? Do, ba, oo, da. So I'm going to say do, ba, do, ba, do, ba, do, ba, do, right? Because that's like jazz talk, right? You know, what was it? You know, to be or not to be was what Shakespeare said, and Confucius said, to be is to do, and Sartre said to do is to be, but it was the jazzer who said dooby 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 doo, right? So do ba do ba do ba do ba do. So if you play it with that in mind, do ba do ba do ba do ba. Ba-do, 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 da. I always have that groove going underneath, that subdivision we talked about in the top of this improv tip, where we are feeling the triplets, but now we have that articulation. So the formula for good swing eighths playing is to feel the triplets, tie the first two triplets like we demonstrated, and then slur it according to off beats, and finally bring in those subtle accents, which are heavier and beats. And a lot of times a swing phrase will actually end on a upbeat. Do ba do ba do ba ba do do ah do ba dee da off beat. So that's one reason we call one style of music in jazz bebop. Do ba do da bebop. It ends on an and beat. So there's another little tip there. So advanced tips. All right. To really swing, it's great to feel that powerful 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if you just walk your feet down the road, 1, 2, 3, 4, right, left, because I have percussion here, you can hear it, right, left, left. You're going to start to feel the beat as two different events, a downbeat and an upbeat. And then if you put something noisy under your left foot, maybe it's just a hard shoe on a hard floor and the right foot's on a carpet, something like that, you get just a 2-4. But my feet are still going right, left. So you hear that 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And now if you let that influence your playing a little bit and pop those 2 and 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever. Maybe it's a written piece. I'm just making up these licks. So you know, kind of put a little juice on the quarter note 2 and 4, as well as the bas on the ands. Of course, you can't think about all this at once when you're playing, but if you just do it regularly and kind of tune into just that right hand or whatever, you begin to build a natural feel for it. Another thing that's a very advanced tip is that there's actually a spectrum of swing eighths. They can be played with a heavy swing or a light swing. And that has to do with where that second note on the triplet feel really actually sits. So we're feeling 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but sometimes this is a little bit closer to what might be a 16th, or it might be a little bit earlier, just a little before that triplet feel. And you can, a very advanced tip, you can play around with that. So is a kind of a normal triplet feel. But what if I delay those 16ths to the extreme last minute? Right? Or what if I do them quite early? So instead, so the percentage of swing can actually be messed with. It's harder to do it on command as much as it is to sort of drop into the feel of the tune that you're playing and realize that you can dig a deeper trench and swing really hard or just kind of swing lightly. It might even say lightly swing. And then because swing eighths live at the at the eighth note level, going back to our original subdivision, I already erased it, groove equals pulse divided by subdivision. Because you can't really swing quarter notes. I could be feeling it like the craziest thing. 2, 2, 3, 4, you know. But where's the swing in the listener's ear? You can't swing quarter notes because they are, what do you do? How do you swing quarter notes? And maybe you've got a beginner or you're getting into it yourself. So the swing lives in the eighth note. So your way to make it swing is to anticipate or delay the quarter notes. And if we play a quarter note early enough, it becomes an eighth note. And if we play it late enough, it becomes an eighth note. In other words, the and beat, the 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's a new 1. What if we play that early? 1, 2, 3, 4, and. Now you could hear the swing because it was up to the eighth note level. So any quarter note song, if you play it early or late. Let's do a late one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So we can anticipate or delay a note to get us into a hint of the eighth note feel. I have 2 more tips for you, and I get you out of here. You're going to hear almost every jazzer play ghost notes. And ghost notes are little tiny notes. Ideally, they're actually not pitched. So a bass player, I don't know if I can reach this right now, is going to play these sounds. Hear how it's hardly any pitch there. Boom, bucky. It's just this, it's like kind of deliberately muted, very tiny little note that gets mixed in here and there. Those are called ghost notes. So if I'm playing this bass line, C, E, F, G, maybe I go C, C, thumb, okay, let's turn it up a little bit. Same with this hand. Let's go back to Twinkle. Boom, boom, boom. These little insignificant notes are usually in the chord, but they don't have to be. Sometimes it's a repeated note. Those are called ghost notes. You can just pop them in here and there for a little percussive pop. They really are hard to notate. Grace notes don't really capture it. It's just a little insignificant percussive pop. More importantly, embellish. Don't just play what's on the page. So let me see if I can do that. I'm going to end this way. I'm going to play this tune Swing Out from That's Jazz Book 1. I'm going to play it how a traditionally trained musician without having attended today's session might play it. They might be like this. Let's go ahead and do it all on piano. So the triplets are there. So it's accurate, but you can hear it's pretty vanilla, right? So now let me put in the ghost notes and play with it. And in my books, I beg you to not play what the composer wrote. It's so backwards. I want you to make it your own. So put that bass back on, and I'll try to embellish and play those ghost notes. Same tune. Notice the anticipation. Same tune. If I had a student come in and play that, I would not correct a single note. I wouldn't say, wait a minute, where was that E flat that you just played? I would, have to restrain myself from giving them a hug because they owned that tune. They made it their own. And so swing is rhythm. It's a way of slurring. It's a way of articulating. And it is also really pops when you feel the freedom to toy with it and make it alive and make it toe tapping. Put in those little extra notes if you feel them. So I'm going to take one more second here and see who's dropped by. And Kath says you always make it look so easy. Yeah, well, I paid my dues. So and you're doing yours now. I'm officially done. I'm just going to go ahead and jam out a little bit because I love to do that. And if you want to listen for a second, I will. I'll just enjoy swinging on this tune and trying to pull out all the stops. So thank you so much for spending some time with me. And I'll see you at the next month's Improv Tip of the Month. Meanwhile, enjoy this if you like, or get on with your day. Such a simple little tune. So there's plenty of room to customize it. Now I just left the tune. I gotta go one more. A few 16th notes. I'm having fun now. That's what I'm thinking. All right, until next time, you enjoy your creative music journey, and a journey it is. Be healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.